lace up those cleats and put on those mitts. It's time for another exciting edition of our Little Yankees podcast. Stepping up to the mic, it's the OLYP team.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, and welcome inside another brand new episode of our Little Yankees podcast. Episode 16 to honor the late, great Whitey Ford. Of course, the Yankees didn't honor him last time we were out, but that was a completely different story. I'm Julian Coltree, as always, and we're glad to have you on this Yankees podcast, joined, as always, by my two compatriots, Josh Levin.
What up, what up?
And Eric Ray Sepulveda.
How's it going, everybody? How you two?
I'm going good. How are
you?
Good. Excited. We should all be hyped because Yankee spring training not only is pitchers and catchers in swing, but we have position players in swing now. So it is truly Yankee season.
It's baseball season, baby.
Yeah, it's baseball season. It's exciting stuff. And trust me, we're going to have a ton to talk about today. There is a plethora of storylines from spring training, so much to really discuss. Of course, last week we talked pretty much the most exciting story that any of us could talk about, which is that Yankee fans will most likely be in the building come the start of baseball season, which I know we're all hyped about and will be something that as we get closer to the season, we'll continue to bring up and continue to talk about. But I want to lead off with a topic, folks, because there's something that is big. There's something that is exciting. There's something that has the Twitterverse in a buzz. And for all three members of our OLYP team, it's somebody and something to do with an appearance that we are all really, really into. And that is that I got a haircut. And I don't know if you guys noticed that, but
I did notice, obviously.
I had, for the first 15 episodes of a podcast, a very nice man bun, but it is now time to switch it up, folks. And we went back to the nice little comb over part with the line. It looks fantastic.
It looks phenomenal. It does look phenomenal.
It does.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys. That was the hype I needed, but I know that was not what you were expecting.
It wasn't.
That was not. That was not what the Twitterverse was allowed about, so to speak, today. That was that our man, number 99, Aaron Judge, has a brand new set of teeth.
He went Hollywood on us.
Yep, he did.
Hollywood
Judge.
Hollywood Judge. We have to get the NWO music out. Bring out Hogan. No, you know what? He looks great with it, but I don't know. Did Michael Strahan ever fix his?
No, you know what? I thought the same thing today. I said,
wow, that's true.
It's possible maybe he doesn't want to bite on Strahan's gimmick because obviously Strahan not only won a Super Bowl, but is probably the most famous New York athlete with a gap in his teeth. So yes, it would be big shoes to fill for Judge, but that was what I thought of kind of absolutely at first, which was he strayed away from his gimmick. His gimmick was the giant dude with the gap in his teeth, and he was a man's man. He had everything going for him, and now he has these pearly new whites that are gorgeous, but they're corporate.
Maybe he knew he couldn't be the face of baseball with those teeth, but at the same time, like you said,
that can't be the face of baseball.
That's what made him. That's true. That's what made him special. But maybe his teeth were hurting him. Maybe it wasn't all about the appearance. That's why we brought in my friend who's a dentist to start talking about. No, I'm kidding. Imagine.
Here's the thing. I think we will. First off, we're doing some excellent fakes at the beginning of this podcast. We're faking about whose appearance it is. We're faking about bringing on a dentist. And who knows, if Ray does have a dentist friend, we would love to have him on. We could discuss it because you know what? I think we're getting to the point, we're 16 episodes in, that we might want to have some guests to supplement some of the topics of conversation as soon as we start to get into some games and stuff like that. But interesting stuff. And you know what? He looked good, but I think I saw a Talking Jake tweet today, something along the lines of, I liked the old look. The only way I'll kind of come around to it is if he wins MVP. And I agree with that.
Well, let's just hope that there's some magic. Let's hope there's some magic in it.
How soon
stays healthy?
How soon
wins an
into
MVP?
The season? Yes. How soon into the season, if he stinks do Yankee fans like E-Ray blame him changing his teeth?
Oh, you know that tweet's coming. Like if he's just horrible out of the gate, like just even in the field, like just terrible. He's just like bash his teeth in or something like that. Bring the gap back.
Yeah, bring the gap back. Yep, I have to take a bat to it. And
hashtag bring the gap back.
No, get your dentist friend.
I couldn't
going.
Yeah, I couldn't stop staring at his teeth, to be honest, when I heard him talking. I didn't even hear anything he said. But as long as he stays healthy and hits those balls over the wall and catches the ball and does everything that a baseball player should do, then I don't care about his teeth. But good for him.
Yeah, it was definitely a little lighter topic to start us off with because we have a bunch of stuff to talk about. Some topics that really will be on the opposite end of the spectrum when it comes to talking about Aaron Judge and his teeth. But let's start off with what actually was referenced in Aaron Judge's press conference, which is his body type and what he kind of needs to do to get ready. And something that he said was that it's tough to get ready when you're the height that he is and the weight that he is, unlike Brett Gardner, who is the opposite in height and weight of Aaron Judge. And the only reason he referenced that, boys, is because I'll give myself a nice pat on the back because we talked about it last week. And I said, I would not be shocked if we saw Brett Gardner back here, even though the writing seemed on the wall that he might be done as a Yankee, because what did Cashman do? He navigated the waters undercover. And then end of last week, we saw that the Yankees were indeed going to be giving a contract to our favorite outfielder and bringing him back for another year with an option for 2022 if things go all well. So he gets I believe a $4 million deal, 1 year with a player option for 2022. He will be back. That's great news. We talked about it before, how important he is for the outfield, how important he is for the defense, how important he is for the leadership. And Gardy gets to party for 2021.
And I am happy that I was wrong last week about it. I definitely did not think he would be back. I thought, like you said, the writing was on the wall and that was the end. But I'm very happy to be incorrect about that because the team is better with him than without him. He's the guy that's reliable. Like when everyone else gets injured, the guy that you can count on to play 130, 140 games in the outfield every season is Brett Gardner. And I think that, Yankee fans should be happy that he's back. Obviously, again, he's being brought back. And the idea is that he won't play every day. We'll have to see how that shakes out. But as a bench player,
been the idea for like
exactly.
The last
no, that's my point.
Yeah.
That's my point is that when they bring him back, the intention isn't all right. Well, we'll have this guy play every day, but it just ends up happening out of necessity. So but again, now that's the plan. So we'll see how it goes. This time he took a significant pay cut to come back. He fits into their luxury tax plans. He makes the bench better because now, we'll talk about it a little bit more later, but now, it pushes off some of the, the Talkmans, the Fords, potentially the Greg Allen is designated for assignment today. So yeah, this is a good move for the Yanks. And I think, the Yankee fans everywhere should be happy.
Yeah. I mean, I think, so on Reddit, actually, Yankees Reddit, one of the users explained it pretty well and of how, in the end, Brett Gardner, he wasn't going to go anywhere, right? Like, as you said, but he helped us out with that salary, right? Especially like the creative ways that Cashman has been working this whole offseason with all the different type of players has definitely helped the Yankees stay under the luxury tax. But he definitely goes, it's like, it was so much to explain on this podcast, especially when they explain numbers. For me personally, but it's on Yankees Reddit and it goes like pretty like deep analysis of like how Cashman did it. But anyway, like you said, Josh, not even like what has he been on the field, but also that presence in the clubhouse, right? It matters in the clubhouse. It matters to have that leadership. He is a Yankee. He's the definition of a Yankee. He's literally been here since the old stadium. We played in the old stadium. I think every Yankee player, right when this signing was announced, well, it became official today, but like when the news came out like last week, every Yankees player was tweeting out Instagram like how excited they were that he was coming back. Like it matters, man. Brett Gardner's a Yankee. And like you said that us Yankee fans are happy about it. But I did see, I think, what was it? You guys brought it to my attention, but I think Sweeney Murdy, right? He tweeted out something like, wait, I have it here. Nobody ever said Brett Gardner is going to the Hall of Fame, but I can't believe how many Yankee fans here hate a player who plays hard without ego and has repped the Yankees so well for so long. Because I did see some like hate on Twitter. As you
And
were, was it?
I remember specifically, I quote tweeted that, and I was going to bring that up if you hadn't, which is, I said anybody who is a Yankee fan who does not like Brett Gardner isn't a Yankee fan. As simple as that, because this guy has been, outside of maybe CC, Mr. Yankee since Derek Jeter, retired. He's been the guy who's repped the pinstripes. He's been the guy who's been the unofficial captain. He plays hard night in and night out. He's the last link on this team to the World Series team in 2009. And he probably, you can make a case, is their best defensive outfielder. So it isn't as if he's this schmuck that the Yankees keep giving money to. He's somebody who's a necessary part of the lineup. And unlike in years past, I think something that's important to note is the Yankees weren't going to go out there and get somebody better than Brett Gardner, because we talked about before, they didn't want to go over the luxury tax. So therefore, you wanted Brett Gardner back this year. Maybe last year you said, all right, well, maybe we can get a younger option. Maybe we can get an option who can hit for average a little bit more, or might be able to bring something more to the table than Brett, who obviously is up there in age. But this year it was, you're not getting that. Michael Brantley isn't going to be here. You're not going to be making some big splash. So you want the guy who's going to be able to play every single inning for you if you need him to, is going to be able to come up in the clutch and is going to play lockdown defense for any of the outfield spots. And that's why it's mind-boggling that any Yankee fan could go out there and see this deal and know that they could use him for outfield depth and say, nah, no thanks.
E-Ray, you said it before when you were talking about all the players who posted or whatever when the news came out. I think if you talk to any Yankee fans who are upset about Gardner being back or don't care, ask them who their favorite player is, and then ask them if that player thinks Gardner needs to be on the team.
Yep.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
important to the team. He's important to the clubhouse. He's one of the leaders of the team. He's the longest tenured Yankee by a mile. And that matters. It matters in this franchise. And when you're trying to win a championship like this team has been trying to do, leadership is important. And that would be a big void that wouldn't have been filled, let alone what else he brings to the table in terms of his play. So, yeah, I don't understand the backlash that's been out there.
Yeah, he's an important piece of this team, and he has been for many years. I have a quick question for you guys, because one of my friends tweet this out the other day. You guys know him, but I'm not going to mention his name because he doesn't need that here today. He said, interesting debate. He said, if the Yankees win the World Series in 2021, that will make Brett Gardner a two-time World Series champion with the Yankees. Does he get a plaque in Monument Park?
I don't think
so. I said no.
No.
He's
a cut below the Paul Neal's.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
That's kind of the bar. That's kind of the bar, because his number isn't retired, but he's remembered. So no.
I think it's a lot more likely he could, but I don't think he should. Is sort of the answer. Monument Park, I feel like, has always been reserved for the legend of legends. I mean, there's a reason why people go to Monument Park, or did when you used to be able to go to the Yankee games. So for me, Brett would be an interesting addition if they won and he had played there for so long. But I mean, stats wise and career wise, I don't think he's ever done anything that really jumped off the page in terms of all-time seasons or individual accomplishments as a player. He's just been more of a leader and a vocal member of the clubhouse. But to that point, what I will say is, in hockey, so much when you win the Stanley Cup, you always give the cup to that guy who deserved to hoist the cup after the captain did. And for Brett Gardner, even though he wouldn't be the guy I feel like getting the World Series trophy, he's the guy who I want to see win one more. He's been
for sure.
Player. And CC didn't get to win it. You want CC to win another ring. Well, Brett's been here. He's been grinding. He won that ring in 2009. And I said to you guys the other day how I was thinking of that 2009 team and how so many players that we loved were able to win rings. Well, 2021 team, Yankees get an opportunity to go out there like your friend, whose name we're not going to mention, wins, then you know what? I would love to see Brett Gardner get one more ring. I think he would deserve it. And then I think he would retire, because he would finally have that kind of last key to his cog on a really good team. And for all intents and purposes, I think that might be why he keeps coming back, because he knows he's got a good team. He knows he can still play, and he has a chance to win.
He also said last year that he didn't want his last games to be played in empty stadiums. He wanted
That's true too.
a chance to come back and play in front of the fans. He specifically mentioned he wanted his family to be able to come and watch him play. So, you get this feeling that this could be, that this, probably is it. Even if they don't win, you kind of get that sense. But obviously, it would be amazing if they could send him off, with a title.
And worst comes to worst, he has the option. So if he feels like there is unfinished business after this year, it's not as if he has to say, hey, I'm hanging him up. And if the Yankees like how he played, then they bring him back in 2022. And it'll be the same discussion that we had here, which is the guy can still play to the best of his abilities. And we'll discuss how much and how crucial he can be to the lineup when we kind of go into that discussion a little bit later on in the podcast. But I want to transition here because I feel like this is a good breaking point. And Yankees spring training has started, but we would be remiss if we did not discuss on this podcast what really has been the biggest story of Yankees spring training to start. And that is the entire situation, story, and saga regarding Domingo German and his return. Obviously, everybody's aware that 2 years ago, Domingo German got suspended for the playoffs and then for the entirety of the MLB season after some domestic abuse issues that took place between him and his girlfriend that apparently started at CC Sabathia's charity event and then kind of stemmed over. Lindsay Adler put out a story the other day for The Athletic that was just horrific in terms of what it talked about and the situation that took place. Obviously, we won't go into details regarding what happened in the story, though. For those of you who haven't gotten a chance to read it, subscribe to The Athletic and read what Lindsay Adler wrote, because she wrote a great piece. She's one of the best writers that the Yankees have on their beat. And now it's kind of poured into Yankee camp, because from the start of Domingo German coming back, guys, there was that idea of what's going to happen to this guy. He won 18 games for the Yankees before he got suspended and really was the Luis Severino replacement when Luis Severino was hurt for most of that year and wasn't really able to pitch. And then you saw last year at points he had some questionable behavior on Instagram in terms of posting things related to him being depressed, as well as things related to him potentially maybe even hanging up the cleats, so to speak. And then he comes back this year, and obviously the discussion stems now to he has to have conversations with his teammates. He has to discuss with them what happened. He has to show forgiveness and understanding about what he did. And that is all well and good, but it also seems as though there's this idea associated with him that has leaked over to other players' opinions. And obviously the one that kind of really comes off the cuff is what happened with Zach Britton at the start of spring training when the pitchers and catchers reported. Britton had a quote, and I don't want to butcher the quote to begin with, so if either of you guys want to bring up the exact quote, you can.
I have it if you want.
So yeah, absolutely, say the quote.
So he was asked about Domingo German's return to the Yankees following 81-game suspension. So he said, "That's a tough question. I don't think he owes anything to me. I think it's off the field stuff that he needs to take care of. Sometimes you don't get to control who your teammates are. That's the situation. I don't agree with what he did. I don't think it has any place in the game or off the field at all. I don't think he owes anything to me. My job is to go out there and pitch and do my job. That's what my concern is. He doesn't owe me anything. I think that's something he's going to have to deal with on his own and make better choices going forward." End quote.
So there's your quote. And then, of course, he later had an interaction on Twitter where he essentially had a back and forth with a Yankee fan who said that Zach Britton didn't, quote unquote, know the details of everything that happened and shouldn't be judging him. And then Zach Britton came back and pretty much said, "Of course, I know the details. I'm a member of the team. We know what happened, and I stand by what I said regarding the situation." So it's complicated. Domingo German today, when we recorded this podcast on Tuesday, February 23rd, had spoken to his teammates. That's what Aaron Boone said. He said he had an opportunity to address all of them when everybody showed up, both pitchers, catchers, and position players, in terms of what had happened and what will go on with him. But seemingly, despite all that, He has still had some interesting cryptic posts on Instagram. He is seemingly still has a judgeful eye from a lot of his teammates. And it's now at the point where if you're the Yankees, you have to say to yourself, as good as this guy was 2 years ago, as valuable as his 18 games were, and as much as we need pitching depth because we're relying on guys like Corey Kluber and Jamison Taillon, who have not pitched at all the last 2 years, considering, will we keep Domingo German around? And if the answer is yes, how short is his leash? So I ask you to dissect the situation as much as you guys feel comfortable, and let's have a discussion.
Yeah, so I don't, I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of what he's accused of doing. I don't even know if it's accusations at this point because it seems like it happened in front of people on the team and then spilled over to his apartment or his home where he was living, where another member of the team and his wife had to come and basically break up what was going on. So beyond that, I'm not going to really speak on that whole situation because we don't know all the details as, fans. We're not involved in that aspect of it. But what we can talk about is what he did and how it relates to the team, right? So going back to 2019, not only did he do this in public in front of teammates in a blatantly terrible way, from a pure baseball standpoint, he got himself suspended right before the playoffs. And he was one of the best pitchers on the team. So you take that first thing where that's not only is it irresponsible as a human being to do what you did, it's terrible in every way, but you're also now costing potentially your coworkers essentially. Then, you got into the Instagram behavior last year that happened, over the summer, and then it carried again. It happened again last week with some weird posts and deleting of posts and stuff about how it's all over or whatever it was. At no point along this road has it felt that he has in any way felt, contrition or, showed any sort of remorse for the way for what he did and how he's handled it since then. The Britain quote is eye popping because it's the first time we've heard about this situation in particular. Somebody basically come out and say like, I don't really need this guy to be here. Like, I don't really want him here, but I don't have any say over that. And Britain is one of the leaders of the team. Aaron Boone said as much after, that quote came out. So you have to wonder now if Britain feels that way, how many other guys feel the same way? And it's, I'm sure Britain's not alone in that. I think the Yankees have done a poor job handling this. For one thing, basically what it looks like at this point is they were hoping either that it would kind of just blow over or that, the teammates, like the players on the team wouldn't care. It seems like they were basically just hoping that, being the fact that it was so long ago that, in February 2021, that it would kind of just be like a non-issue with all the other things going on around the team. But that's clearly not the case. So they've done a bad job. Aaron Boone, I think, has done a bad job too. I don't think it's been handled well from a communication standpoint. Last week when camp opened, he came out and said, I don't really think he needs to address the team. And then Britain says that, comes out with that quote a day or two later. And the next thing Boone says is, well, I probably needed to pay a little bit more attention to that. He went on to say how, because of COVID and stuff, he doesn't have as much of a pulse on his guys as he normally would because of the protocols in terms of social distancing and all that sort of stuff, which I can't speak to because I'm not around the team. I'm not in the clubhouse, so I don't know how true that is. But it sounds like an excuse. And now here we are less than a week later from when Boone initially said, I don't think he needs to talk to the team. German has spoken to the pitchers and the hitters in two separate groups. So he's had the same conversation twice, it seems. Now, we have no idea what was said or how that all went. But to get back to the question, Jules, that you brought up, based on all this, the most important thing the Yankees need to be worrying about, obviously, is, in my opinion, is this guy does not represent, he shouldn't represent what the Yankees or what any really major league franchise or any company should be about. He hasn't shown any sort of remorse. He hasn't come forward and spoken to the media yet to say anything, about how he regrets what he did and how he'll continue to live his life in a positive way going forward. Any one of those sort of generic statements that he could make. If his teammates aren't comfortable with him being around or don't really care to have him around, German should not be on the team. They probably, the Yankees could have made that decision long ago. They could have handled this a lot better. Now, Clark Schmidt is hurt, so this brings up a point. Now, is German the fifth starter? He may very well be, but all that aside, I still don't think, even if he is the guy who they project to be their fifth starter, and they're not getting rid of him because they like his ability. To me, that is not a good enough reason to keep somebody around, especially when it seems to have not poisoned the clubhouse, but the fact that this is the number one story right now is not a good thing. And I think everybody has done a very poor job of handling this, except for Zach Britton.
Yeah, no, shout out to Zach Britton, right? Like, the utmost respect. He was the only player. I mean, again, each player is going to address their own opinion to it, however they are. Some of them didn't talk about it. Zach Britton talked about it. And like you said, Josh, it just, you don't want this negativity, especially when you're a World Series contending team, and it's a new season, 162 games. There's a lot of stuff going around negativity-wise right around the whole world. And this is the first thing that you have to address. And then it just seemed like there was just a big disconnect, like you said, the Yankees management and the players. So then there's that. Why is there that disconnect there? So I don't know. I try to look at players differently often on the field, right? But in this situation, when you read that story from Domingo German a year and a half ago, I can't do that. I mean, what he did it's just, you can't stand for it. Like you said, I don't know if it's worth it for him to be on this team. That's really the question. Is it worth it for this guy to be on this team right now? And is this the type? It sucks that he is on the team because he's a Yankee. He pitches. We want them to win games. So it's like we have to root for this guy. And that's what the Yankees are going to have to figure out. Like you said, Clark Schmidt is hurt. We do have other pitchers, though, that are fighting for spots. I mean, that can beat him out. Hopefully they can. I mean, I think we all mentioned that we can discuss later, but we would like Deivi Garcia to get that fifth spot just because of how exciting he was last year. But yeah, man, this is quite a predicament that the Yankees, we'll see. I bet that they think now that Domingo German talked to his teammates today that this story is going to go away.
Yeah.
They definitely think that because, again, hearing Aaron Boone and just knowing how I feel like the Yankees operate, they're going to think this is going to go away, and it's not. That's the sad part. And we're going to see if it's going to affect the team, because once it affects the team in the clubhouse and on the field, if it does, then that's a big problem. If we're talking baseball wise.
And he hasn't even met the media yet, which will happen probably at some point.
And that's probably going to be a disaster.
And that's going to be what's talked about. He has not spoken to the media since this whole thing happened in September of 2019.
And I understand that a lot of people are saying as well, because we have Chapman on the team, right? And you could say it's a different type of situation, but it's still domestic violence. And you could also pose a question, should he even be on the team, right? If seeing what he did years ago. I mean, I guess that ship has sailed for him. He's on the team. He's going to be on the team. But yeah, man, it's just a big old yikes, I feel like, right now for the Yankees and for German and us as fans. And yeah, that's really just how it is. It's not what you want, as Joe Girardi would say.
Yeah.
That was more in a playful manner. This is definitely not what you want.
Here's the thing. I said this with Curt Schilling because I think there had been a multitude of people and a ton of conversation regarding whether or not he should be allowed in the Hall of Fame. And I feel like a circumstance that always kind of came up was, well, there are other, to put it quite light, to not put it lightly, piece of shit players who are in the Hall of Fame already. Ty Cobb was a racist and he used to spike people and he was an all-around asshole, but he's in the Hall of Fame, so why shouldn't Curt Schilling? And my reasoning was always, just because somebody was terrible and got away with it doesn't mean now everybody else has to. And if you ask me, reading the stories and seeing what happened, and I'll preface it by saying I'm all for second chances, but what Domingo German did has no place in society and has no place in the game of baseball, and should not be accepted, no matter how many games a player is suspended from baseball. So, the fact is, you add on to that what Josh said, and it was almost that the kid has yet to show remorse. All summer last year, we either didn't hear from him, or what we did hear from him was kind of, wishy-washy, uncertainty, not regarding the sorrow that he felt regarding the situation, but rather, his own issues. And I do understand that people have their own issues and are going through their own things. But from the Yankees' perspective, why not now? I understand you have a fifth starter, but you can get somebody who will be comparable, in my opinion, to a guy who hasn't pitched in a year and a half at this point and has a plethora of off the field issues. And to just hope that it goes away because you want this guy in your rotation sets a terrible example for, your fans. It sets a terrible example for female members of the media. It sets a terrible example for other wives and girlfriends of players. And you know what? Like I said, I believe in second chances, but in this case, I think the time for a second chance for Domingo German came and went. And if I was the team, I would cut him, and I would cut my losses, and I would say, look, this has no place in our game, and maybe we didn't do it with Chapman, and maybe we should have, or maybe we could have done it with other players, but now we have this opportunity to do so. And clearly, with the way that players feel, and Zach Britton's the only one who's spoken out publicly, but I would guarantee he's not the only one who feels that way.
Yeah, there's definitely other players that feel the same way.
I think it would be looked at as the Yankees taking a step in the right direction. And look at the Mets. You have to look no further than the Mets, because we didn't talk about it on this podcast, but the Jared Porter situation with him sending unwanted texts to that female reporter, Steve Cohen, he might not have been the owner of the team when that stuff happened, and he might not have been the guy who hired him. It might have been Sandy Alderson, if that's what you want to say. But as soon as that stuff came out, Steve Cohen said that there's no place in our organization for people like that. And they fired him the next day. And so from that perspective, they made it known that that stuff will not fly. And the Yankees have screwed up, I think, at this point, to let it get to the point that it has, where it's spring training and it's the first and second day, and this is what it is. And you have the players publicly commenting that they wish that this guy wasn't on their team, or one of them is. But I think this gives you the out that you can say it's a detriment to the team, that we feel bad that we have to part ways with this kid, but that we got him. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Whether or not the Yankees do that, where they just want to see what this kid can do, where they cut him at a later date, will be seen. But I think ultimately that is what my advice would be to the organization.
Yeah. And, the last few days we've spoken about in our, text chat about second chances. And I said it too, I believe in second chances. Make no mistake, if the Yankees cut Domingo German, he will get a second chance.
Oh, he will
just be with another organization. So it's not as if, the Yankees cutting him ends his baseball career, because some other team will pick him up. He's not 30 years old. He's a talented pitcher. So yeah, I mean, he will get another chance. It just shouldn't be here, because basically what we have to look at it is not because this is the way it is in sports, right? We've seen it over and over again, whether it's Chapman and the Yankees traded for him after those allegations and incidents occurred. Not just that, but across the board, Jose Reyes with the Mets, it happens. It happens in other sports all the time. And Osuna is another example. But even if you want to, Kareem Hunt, other sports,
Tyreek
it happens.
Hill.
What you have to the way you look at it is the teams put first the talent of the player in question, right? So Domingo German probably adds something to this team. So that's why he's still here.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at it from just a perspective of what is best for my team on the field in terms of winning games, if this guy is a problem in the clubhouse, that outweighs the talent that he has. So if the Yankees are looking at it through a lens which they really shouldn't be looking at it through, which is, well, how does this affect our wins and losses? If the team, doesn't want him there, if the players don't want him there, that is significantly more important than what he can provide to you as your fifth starter. So for me, the choice is obvious.
Yeah, I agree. And ultimately, you know what? Like we said, shout out to Zach Britton, because the fact of the matter is whether or not Domingo German is a fifth starter or if he's your ace, it takes a lot of guts and a lot of courage, I think, to go out there as a leader of this team and to pretty much straight up say that you don't want a guy on your team because of, his past history with, this story regarding domestic abuse. And therefore, I think that's really bold. I think it proves why Zach Britton is a leader on this team. And we all love Zach Britton because of how great of a pitcher that he is. But it's nice to know that you can equally like Zach Britton as the person that he is and what he represents as far as a face of a franchise. And I'm glad we have him in our bullpen because I think that took a lot of guts.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's kind of just crazy how, shocking how the Yankees just mismanaged all of this.
It's very disappointing.
Yeah, right from the get-go, it's very disappointing.
Yep, absolutely. I agree. Anyway, so that's the situation regarding that. And look, here's the thing. As long as Domingo German is on this team, we will discuss what his possible role is in regards to everything and how that kind of moves forward. And that leads us to kind of a good spot here where we can transition to a discussion regarding the Yankees in spring training. There's a game in the next couple of days where the Yankees will finally be able to get some time to go out there. But they made their final moves, boys. They signed Brett Gardner. They move Luis Severino to the 60-day DL. They signed Justin Wilson finally. They designate Gabe Allen for assignment. And now we get to see what this roster is made of. So very quickly, and I don't want any justification, I'm going to make sure that it's short. Off-season grade now that everything is final.
C+.
C+ from Josh. E-Ray?
I was saying C+ or B-, but I pushed it up to a B.
All right, so a B. I'm going to go with a solid C. So that's what we went with. It's average, I think, across the board for all three of us, especially considering they didn't do anything to make them better, but they also did not get worse. But
I can't believe I gave the highest grade.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely.
Am I feeling some optimism, baby?
I think you
Maybe.
are.
I think you are. You're feeling it.
Positive Ray is here for the New York Yankees.
Positive Ray. I agree. Absolutely.
That's
which
crazy.
Gives that the grades and the end of the Yankees offseason, the official start of spring training, now gives us the opportunity to actually get into the nitty gritty regarding this team. So I'm going to go down the list. We're going to talk about a couple of things here and there, and we're going to give our thoughts and opinions. First things first, something I know we're all really happy about, really welcome to see, is that Aaron Boone started pitchers and catchers in his press conference by announcing that Clint Frazier is officially the left fielder for the New York Yankees. He will get his reps. Finally, Red Thunder is here to stay. And after seasons upon seasons of us speculating whether or not he would be a part of a deal elsewhere for a pitcher or if he would be a New York Yankee, it looks like it is finally written in the cards that he is destined to wear the pinstripes.
This is just proof that hard work pays off because this guy has been through the ringer with this organization. The whole time. I mean, he came up in 2017. That's a long time ago. Yep. And he's just now getting his first everyday job in the big leagues. So congrats to him. I'm very happy as a fan. That's who I've wanted to be the left fielder for at least the last 2 seasons. So yeah, I mean, I'm thrilled. I'm happy for him. I know he's been it's been tough on him. I think you could tell if you follow him on social media and if you read his quotes and stuff after games, it's been hard on him. And he, one thing's for sure, he really earned this. And I also just want to mention that he got his he also worked hard for his Nike contract, and he got it. So it's been a
Hey.
good off season. It's been a good off season for Red Thunder.
Clint Frazier is riding high right now. And him and Gardner were pretty close last year. Like Gardner would like toughen him up and stuff. I think he stole Clint's turtleneck, I think.
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
that. So they have fun. And the thing is, that's what I think bring it back real quick to the Gardner thing. They're like, oh, Gardner's here to steal Clint Frazier's at bats. No, he's not. Again, Gardner's still going to play because the way we're going to just rotate and people are going to get hurt.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. So, but yeah, back to Clint, man. Like he definitely deserves it. We all love him. I'm honestly shocked that he was never traded. I really thought for a second there he was going to get traded. I mean, even from the get-go, right in the beginning, this guy came in with I think the media also just gave him a bad rep, man.
Yeah.
I feel like we always defended the kid and just so like, oh, his long hair. And then what was that thing?
Remember the Susan Waldman thing?
Yeah, it was
that was a lie,
right?
Yeah, she said that
He wants
said
to be
to
number
her,
He said he
like,
wanted Mickey Mantle's
you think
number.
I can get number 7 unretired or something? And she
yeah.
had to apologize. She had to come out and apologize.
Because once you say that, you have people on Twitter that just believe everything. And then they went for the kid's throat right away. And then it's just like, oh, this guy thinks he's bigger than the Yankees. He's bigger than the game. No, man. So I'm really excited. Last year, we saw what he could do. We always know what he could do with the bat. He was a Gold Glove contender. He improved in the fields, and now he's a starting left fielder. Let's go. I'm excited. I'm hyped, as you can tell from my voice getting high.
Yeah, I for one am absolutely hyped for him being able to be on this team. And you know what? Shout out to him more than anybody else, because 2 years ago, mid-season, when he got sent down, not only did we all think he was going to get traded, but his demeanor after all these errors in the field and after the way that he had played, I think he was really down on himself.
100%.
He was
uncertain a lot, right?
regarding what his future was going to be for the Yankees, but he busted his butt and he proved his worth. And then at the start of last season, when he again got sent down, rather than subtweeting anybody or going and running his mouth on social or even just being pissy in public to the media, he busted his butt again and he wound up getting brought up when their injuries were there, and he really played a key part. And now I think he's going to not only be a great member of this team, I'll go out on a limb and I'll say he's going to either be a first half or second half MVP. I don't know which one it's going to be, but I think that there's going to be a half of this season in which Clint Frazier helps lead the Yankees in some big moments and some big spots. And I think he's going to have a big season because I think the confidence is under him. I think he's proven that he's a much better fielder now. He has a good head on his shoulders. And now that it's his job to lose, I don't think he's going to lose. I think he's going to really play his best baseball. And that's awesome to see, because I will say this, and I've said it before, and I know you guys have heard me say it before. He's that type of guy that, you know, the guy who comes to mind for me was always Dustin Pedroia with the Red Sox, which is that guy who played hard, was gritty, and every single person who watched him who wasn't a Red Sox fan hated him. But if he was on your team, you loved him. That Paul O'Neill type, or, you know, the Brett Gardner type for a lot of people too, or whatever name or personality you want to say. But that's who he reminds me of. And it's nice to know that we got a guy like that on our team, a guy who other teams can absolutely just be furious when he comes to bat, but is cool and it's fun. And we get to nitpick about his bubbly, interesting personality, because I think that's awesome.
Do you guys remember in 2019, it was after he had got sent down, I think he made a diving catch in Scranton, and then he tweeted, or somebody tweeted the video, and then he replied like, that's a DH or something. It was
yeah.
We've come a long way from those days.
We have, yeah.
It's true. I agree. Absolutely. And he's earned it. You know what? That's what I said. Credit to him, because he really has busted his butt the last couple of years.
He also had concussion. Remember the concussion?
Yeah.
That actually was a big factor.
Yeah. He's really been through a lot. There's been a lot of things that have gone on with him.
Like Josh said, from the moment that he got traded here until 2021. So at this point, it's been 5 seasons, because wasn't it the 2015 season that he got traded here? So 5-6 seasons at this point.
Yeah, it was
part of the Andrew Miller trade. You know, he's he's been through a lot, and you know what? It's nice to see, and it's glad that he's going to get an opportunity to come up here and be an everyday player for the Yankees, and hopefully help contribute to number 27. Because as Josh pointed out, he's fallen in love with the kid already. He rocked a Yankees World Series Newsday magazine T-shirt to the first day of spring training, 1996. So you know he wants to be a part of it, and he wants to help raise that World Series trophy when the Yankees win the title in October.
I saw someone tweet at him or the picture saying next year you got to wear one with you on it. The World Series from last year.
I like that.
Let's go. That fired me up too, baby. I'm fired up.
E-Ray's hyped. Absolutely.
Chase for 28. This is the time.
Do you know the best way to feed off your hype?
No.
To get into the down and dirty logistics of the Yankees roster.
Wow.
Nothing gets me going more than that.
Yeah, I know that was the sarcasm in my voice.
No, but that's actually, I'm not actually kidding.
Well, you're right. Nothing does get you going like that. So that's a good point to talk about, because we now know that Clint Frazier is the starting left fielder for the New York Yankees, which means that they have their starting left fielder in Clint, their starting center fielder in Aaron Hicks, their starting right fielder in Aaron Judge, and then you have Giancarlo Stanton, who's mainly their DH, though Aaron Boone, despite all our best wishes, said that he might get Giancarlo Stanton, that is, might get reps in the outfield. None of us want that. Please, for the love of God, keep him at DH. We don't want to see him get hurt anymore. But then you have Gardner, and then you have Tauchman, and then you also have Jay Bruce, who we talked about last week, got a invite to Yankees camp. So looking at spring training, guys, there are so many outfielders, including Derek Dietrich, who obviously is a guy who they might get a couple of looks at in spring training. But there's also the bench. And that leads us to our first kind of breakdown and discussion, which is you look at the bench spots and you have Mike Tauchman, you have Jay Bruce, you have Mike Ford, you have Brett Gardner, you have Tyler Wade. That's 5 bench players who could all feasibly, and Higashioka, who's going to be on the roster regardless because he's a catcher. So 5 bench players who realistically can make the roster, and we'll have to see which way the Yankees go. But I want to discuss it with you, where you think will ultimately end up.
Okay, so the main thing, right, is how many players are they going to carry on their bench? How many pitchers are they going to have in their bullpen? So they're either going to have a 4 or 3-man bench. Tyler Wade and Higgy are locks, as is Gardner. So if they have a 3-man bench, that's it. There's not even a debate to have. But I think we all would prefer them to have a 4-man bench. We don't really need that extra pitcher, in my opinion. So
never know it down.
but the thing is, though, they manipulate the roster so easily that they'll just call somebody up if they need somebody and send somebody else down. You know, I don't personally think that person, that last reliever, the 14th reliever, whatever, is never going to pitch. So I prefer to have a deeper bench. 4 men isn't even a lot anyway, especially when one's a catcher. If it was me making the decision, I guess we have to kind of see how spring training goes, but I would prefer Jay Bruce to be the last guy. I want another backup first baseman on the team. I don't want DJ to be the only guy who can play the position besides Voit. Mike Ford has an option. He did nothing last year that showed that he deserves another chance at the big league job.
Negative with the terrible postseason at bat we all talk about every day.
That's the last memory we all have in our heads.
I literally still have nightmares of that at bat.
Yeah. But anyway, I don't think he showed enough last year to deserve the chance at an opening day job. He'll come up at some point because there will be injuries, and maybe he tears the cover off the ball in the spring, and that changes our feelings. But I like Jay Bruce. Maybe it won't for you, but maybe it will for some others.
That's true.
I want Jay Bruce because he has experience. He has a lot more upside than Ford does at this point. He fits the roster better because he's a lefty power bat who can play first base. So that for me would be my pick. What I actually think will happen is I think it's going to be Mike Tauchman because he's out of options. The Yankees are probably reluctant to just designate him for assignment. Maybe they trade him if they found some team that wanted him. Brian Cashman said that Mike Tauchman gets more calls than any other player on his team. So maybe there's a trade out. Maybe there's a trade out there.
Do you guys believe
maybe there's
that?
a trade out there.
No, I don't. Not in the slightest.
No.
But what
They
is
like
Cashman
him.
going to say? Is he going to say
Exactly.
nobody wants this guy and I am dying
That's
to get
like-
him off my hands?
That's like me saying, "Oh man, I'm getting all these texts from these women recently."
Nobody gets more texts from women than E-Ray.
That's true. I'm like Mike Talkman.
So yeah,
92 mile, 92 mile per hour fast
down the middle.
down the middle.
So that's why I think he'll be on the team, because he's out of options. I don't see them losing him for nothing. Well, I don't see them wanting to do that, I should say. So I think he'll end up getting it, which, in my opinion, doesn't make the most sense when you already have Brett Gardner as your fourth outfielder. Talkman's a guy who's a lefty hitter, not as good as Gardner. It seems a bit redundant to me.
Yep, I agree. Absolutely. And I'll make this one short point and then I'll let E-Ray go, which is Jay Bruce really just needs to hit the cover off the ball. That's all we need him to do. He has to make it so impossible that the Yankees can even think of choosing Mike Talkman over him, because essentially I feel like if it comes down to Jay Bruce's ability to play two positions, and he has shown fantastic stuff in spring, including his track record as a major leaguer and what he has done at Yankee Stadium, because he has dominated with that short porch, then I think that will be enough to put them over the edge and they'll just go with him as one of your bench positions. So that's what I hope.
The only thing that scares me, yeah, I mean, I agree with both of you. I don't want Talkman at all. Like, I just don't want him near this team. I would release him. Of course, they're not going to do that because they're smarter than that. But I mean, they might have to. But yeah, I would want Jay Bruce, like you said, because he's the veteran. He's a lefty. I think we saw him. You know how we always love watching home runs in batting practice, especially in spring training, because that means a lot when the real games come. But I think we saw him hit one hell of a ball earlier today on Twitter. But yeah, I also want to see what Diedrich could do. Because when he was with the Reds, he was pretty good. And then, of course, he wasn't good, so he got released. But I want to see what he can do this spring. We know it's going to be Wade. We know it's going to be Higgy. We know it's Gardy. I just do not want to see Talkman, man. And that's what scares me. Josh made all the good points that I think in the end it's going to be Talkman, because also Jay Bruce has that contract, right? If he makes the major leagues, it's 1.35 that. And
well, the Yankees do have room.
We have a little more
because
flexibility now.
Based off of their current contract, they're at around 204, with, of course, the hard wall that they don't want to go to being 210. So they could afford Jay Bruce should he hit the cover off the ball and be the guy that they want.
I can't believe we're talking about $1 million and change as
something that can keep
too
much money.
But yeah.
Shout out to Brett Gardner, though, for helping us out there. And it looks like Wilson did the same thing with the player and team contracts for that. But yeah, I would love if Jay Bruce made the team. It seems like Chirinos is not, like, he's here just for that insurance in case Gary and Higgy get hurt or something like that. But hopefully everyone stays healthy, man. And we have good battles in spring training for these last couple spots. And we don't have to, we already got our first injury. I think it's been, there's always like a tweet.
It was like 2 or 3 days. It was after Clark Schmidt got announced. Though luckily for him, it was not Tommy John or anything that required Tommy John. Yeah. So I saw rumors of him saying, because he was actually speaking with Darren O'Day, that he was going a little bit too hard in his first bullpen session. And that's why he started to feel his shoulder and arm hurt a little bit. And that's when he wound up going to the doctors. So hopefully it's just something where they shut him down for a couple of weeks. And then by the middle of the season, he's back. But it's worth mentioning, because we talked about Bruce and we talked about Ford and we talked about Talkman and we talked about Tyler Wade and Higgy, but the one guy we haven't talked about, and it seems as though we're just not going to talk about him because who knows what his role is going to be, is the man we love to call Papa, Miguel Andujar, the backup third baseman. But at this point, a guy who's going to be starting the season probably in the minor leagues, and who knows what his future holds as a Yankee, because as long as Gio Urshela continues to dominate on the defensive side of things and continues to be above average on the offensive side of things, nobody is going to supplement him at third base. And that means that a guy who we all know was the rightful rookie of the year, or at least if you ask us, he was, he's not going to be in the lineup or probably on the major league roster for the foreseeable future, which is sad because of how awesome he was his rookie year.
It's crazy what's gone on with that in the time since 2018. He should have won Rookie of the Year, whatever. But it's
Writers
crazy
love
how
the Tani
they did. They sure did, because he did
Yep.
two things and he wasn't,
Yep.
whatever. I'm not going.
gimmick.
I hate Otani.
But yeah, this guy at that point in time was DJ wasn't here. That was the year that Judge got hurt. That was the first time we experienced the Judge injury thing.
Mhm.
Stanton was really good that year, but he wasn't what he did. He wasn't the MVP that he was the year before. We all were like, Andujar's the best player on the team. He's the best hitter.
Right.
He's the guy. And,
He was a doubles machine.
Yep.
Now he's not.
Pretty sure he set the record for
we don't know what his
extra base hits by a
future
rookie.
is with the team. We have
They don't know
clue
either.
what his future is. And I think at this point it's sort of a similar situation to Clint Frazier. Just hold on to him and maybe it'll figure itself out eventually.
Yeah.
Either
Yeah.
not with us or with another team, but it looks like right now he doesn't have a spot. Real quick, I think in today's workout, they said that Miguel Andujar was listed with the infielders, and I think last year he started the camp
With the outfielders.
as in
He
the
was doing
outfielders.
he was doing the left field thing.
So Aaron Boone said his role is still being determined, so they don't know what his role is either. So I think
it's
we'll see what happens.
I think the play off of what Josh said and hope it figures itself out. The most complicated thing is I feel like with Clint, there was always this idea that he would eventually take over for Brett Gardner. And that's what happened. But Brett Gardner, of course, is 35 plus and is approaching 40 and is not going to be here for very long. Whereas Gio Urshela isn't even 30 yet. He's 29 years old. And the last 2 seasons, I think, have kind of proven that not only is this guy having a career renaissance with the Yankees, but this is who he is. So unless something drastic happens for Gio Urshela to just not be able to play, and of course we all know it's the Yankees, so something could happen, but unless something does happen, I just find it really hard to believe that he's going to get up to the majors and be able to play and be able to get consistent playing time. And I feel like after a while, if you're somebody who was a major league player and was that good, and now you're just in the minors unnecessarily, that's going to probably screw you up. Because look at last year.
We did see it last year.
Yeah, it took him until the beginning of September to really start to hit. And then that was when the Yankees and Garrett Cole talked about how big of a crime, almost, quote unquote, air quotes for crime, it is that they hold these, players, from being able to use their league service time to save a buck. But that's what wound up happening. As soon as he started to get hot last year, they sent him down because they wanted to save his service time. And now you're at the point where who knows if this kid can hit as well as he did. And if he can't hit, you get nothing for him. And if he can hit, he's never going to be able to hit in the majors for his value to get back to what it was when, if the Yankees traded him that offseason, they probably could have gotten him in a package for a top line player.
Oh, for sure.
Now they probably can't get anything.
If they had done that, if they were willing to do that, Garrett Cole probably would have been a Yankee.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, sorry. He was already an Astro in 2018, so I apologize.
But
that's sort of the idea, though.
Yeah, but I mean, he was a Rookie of the Year runner-up who, like I said, had set the MLB record. I'm pretty sure
there was no reason to trade him, though.
Double. Yeah, there wasn't any reason, but it is
when you think about it.
Crummy to think how bad his value has fallen to the point where you probably could have used him in a package for, I mean, people were talking about putting him as a centerpiece for one of the Mets pitchers, like Noah Syndergaard or somebody like that. And granted,
was that the rumor that night? Remember that? Was that Martino's rumor where it's like Syndergaard and the Yankees are talking, and then it went nowhere?
I think there was the real Muto rumor that involved the Yankees.
Oh, you're right,
or something like that. But regardless, it is crummy to see how hard his value has fallen. And I don't know, yes or no answer. By offseason 2021, is Miguel Andujar on the Yankees? Yes or no?
I still say yes.
Okay.
I still say yes. You mean next year, right? Right.
Well, I would mean by after the winter meetings or around this time, next season.
I'm still going to say yes. The problem The issue also is, say you said Gio Urshela, right? If Gio Urshela, like, God forbid, got hurt, I feel like Andujar is not even the clear-cut guy to replace him, though, because he can't play the.
I don't think he is.
I think
because I think
last
they
year,
would.
who'd you put there? They put Wade or DJ LeMahieu at third.
I think they would put DJ at third and put Tyler Wade at second.
They'd rather have that. Andujar flat out is just a DH at this point, and that's Stanton's job for the next 20 years. So.
And that's why I say
I had to throw that jab in there.
To answer my question, to not let you jab my boy anymore, and to answer the question that I did, I don't think he is. I think the Yankees are going to hope that he has a good spring, hope that he carries it into a good start in the minor leagues, if the minor leagues happen, assuming, and then
we need the minor leagues to happen as a Yankee.
Yeah, because we need Jason Dominguez to get
we need Jason Dominguez to get some at bats, baby. This guy being called the next Mike Trout, Mickey Mantle, Eric Ray Sepulveda, just to dive in there.
Yeah, exactly. I agree 100%. But to answer my own question, I actually don't think he'll be here at this time next year. I think the Yankees will find a way to put him in a package as maybe not the centerpiece that he originally was supposed to be, but as that sweet in the pot deal for whatever deadline deal that they
like a throwaway. Use. I really think
I don't think a throwaway. They're throwaways.
I don't think he has any value.
He has no value.
I honestly don't think he has value.
But what I'm saying is, I feel as though the Yankees are hoping that he builds.
He gets okay.
And then he eventually gets put in a position in which he is an add-on in a deal for somebody.
The problem is that he's not going to build up value in AAA. He, for all intents and purposes, he's a major leaguer, but he's going to be stuck in Scranton for various reasons. If he hits 325 in Scranton, that's not going to boost his value because we already knew he could do that at that level. Yeah. The only way his value improves or becomes existent again is if he plays in the majors and plays well. But
and the only way that NL gets a DH.
The only way that's going to happen is if a bunch of people get hurt, because we just detailed how he's not the first option at third base if Gio, goes down. So I don't know.
First option.
He's not. He's definitely not.
And he's not an option. He's probably like the third or fourth or fifth option in the outfield. And, that's going to take a lot of dominoes to fall for that to happen. So I just don't know where he's going to be able to get his opportunities to actually improve his value and be useful to not just the Yankees, but to potentially another team.
Yep.
I will say this real quick. His value as a Papa, though, is very high.
Yes. Well, we still love him, and he's
big
still our
Papa value. And
big Papa value.
I will say this. Nothing hurts me more. Forget his on the field stuff. Nothing hurts me more than seeing how he's been replaced by Glaber. Him and Glaber were the dynamic young Yankee duo. Now it's Glaber and Gio.
He
was Wally pipped by Gio as a baseball player and
as a friend,
as Glaber's best friend.
And they don't. And
it's sad to see.
You know how you see on Twitter and on Instagram and stuff when the guys show up to the they report and they show everyone. They don't even show him. They show Tyler Wade.
They don't even show Andujar.
They don't show Andujar.
Rookie of the year. And they don't even show the guy anymore.
He's an afterthought.
It bums me.
It really is.
Yeah, I'm bummed about it because he was awesome, and I almost bought his jersey that year. Man, 41, man.
Except they don't sell it at the stadium, which is why you didn't.
That's exactly. That's 100% why. We were at the game. I tried to get it, but I wasn't able to. Sad.
I was just looking at his numbers from 2019
from that year.
From 2019 and 2020, since the injury. That really set this whole thing in motion.
Well, he tried coming back and then he got hurt.
Yeah. He has, in that time, since 2018, he has 1 home run and 6 RBIs.
Yep. And he had a big,
roughly 105 plate appearances.
The only thing I'll remember is right when the Yankees were in that really tough stretch last year, he had a couple of big hits.
He did.
Help them win some games. And that's what was so crappy about them sending him back down to the alternate site so that way they could manipulate his contract time, because he seemed as though he was finally coming into things. And the thing that kind of hurts the most is this is a guy whose bat, when it is on, we would take over anybody in the bench because of what he could do and his ability to connect. but I don't think he's ever going to be able to get enough consistent reps to be a bench player, because he seems as though he's somebody who really can't come in cold. And that's kind of crappy to think about. So,
and he has no defensive value. He brings no defensive value. So
he's a DH. And with the NL not having DHs because of the collective bargaining agreement and the Players Association and Major League Baseball not agreeing, and the Yankees having my boy Giancarlo for the foreseeable future, there's really no spot with him, which is why I stand by what I said, which is I don't think he will be a Yankee come next offseason going into next spring training.
Speaking of your boy Giancarlo, did you see what Aaron Boone said today? That Giancarlo might play the outfield this year. What are you?
I did. I actually brought that up probably about 15 minutes ago, and I actually said how it's something that we all don't want, but maybe you zoned out a little bit during
I probably did
podcast when I was teasing a bit.
I probably did.
Well, because you zoned out, we're not going to discuss that right now, because we got starters to discuss. We talked about that a little bit earlier, as I can see the rage building up inside E-Ray's body that I just stepped all over him like AI stepping over Ty Lue in the NBA Finals. We discussed
I'm a professional, so I'll keep it professional.
All right.
I'll take this off, chat.
See? So for the Yankees, we pretty much already know what their starting rotation is going to be, both kind of when Sevy comes back and pre-Sevy comes back. We know Garrett Cole, opening day starter. Aaron Boone already discussed it. Corey Kluber and Jameson Taillon are going to be the number 2 and number 3 starters. And then number 4, I think we all kind of unanimously agree is going to be Jordan Montgomery. So your number 5 starter would have been a 3-horse race, so to speak, between Clark Schmidt, Domingo German, and Deivi Garcia. But now Clark Schmidt's hurt, which means it's only a 2-man race unless somebody else comes in who we can't really think of, which leads me to my question, boys. Who do you want? Take away what we discussed regarding Domingo German's off the field stuff, 15 minutes ago, as hard as that is. Who would you want to be in a perfect world the Yankees' 5th starter, and why?
Deivi Garcia, because we saw a lot last year that we liked, and we wished we had gotten to see more in game number 2 of the American League Division Series. But again, that is a topic for an episode. It passed. But yeah, Deivi Garcia would be my choice because I love the potential. He's 21 years old. What more do you want? You want, when you have a 5th starting job open, you kind of want it to be a young, exciting guy that you hope could be, a future, frontline pitcher for you. So that's what I would love to see. But I don't know how confident I am in that actually happening.
Yeah, they might. I can see them just giving him more work. Hopefully, if there is a minor league, and just starting him out in the minor leagues.
They're going to manipulate the service time.
They are. They're going to manipulate it, and that's what teams do, sadly. But yeah, I mean, I'm the same, flat out. I'm the same way. Same thing as Josh. I want Deivi Garcia. Just as he was saying, just because I want to see him continue to excel and continue to redeem himself from that game 2-star where he only pitched 1 inning. So he's exciting, and he has blue hair. So
it's true, he does.
Did he come into camp with blue hair still?
I think he got rid of it.
Oh yeah, because I don't think that would have.
You might be thinking of Francisco Lindor, who did have blue hair.
Yes.
Yeah, he still had his blue hair.
He could still. I feel like with the Yankees, you can't have blue hair.
No, yeah, I agree. You can't have beards too. So even though Glaber was growing out his beard, he had to shave it. Though we all kind of agreed that his beard was a little bit weak. We didn't love it, and that's coming from guys who have very nice beards. If you ask us, beard gang. So I agree with you boys. Ultimately, I think the Yankees won't cut German. He will be their 5th starter. And then they'll hope that either he implodes and then they can cut him and they'll bring in Deivi Garcia, or Deivi Garcia will outpitch him and maybe they'll just go and decide to do it. But with what we discussed and what Josh just said about manipulating service time, odds are they'll keep him down there until May when they can bring him up if they really need to. And then, of course, Severino should be back, I would say, probably around June, maybe at the latest, the All-Star break. So I think we're kind of have that on the horizon too. And then when he goes in there, I think most people slot him into that 2nd spot. But ultimately, I think if Kluber and Taillon are pitching well, then you have an interchangeable 2, 3, 4, and that's that's exciting to think about.
That's
for
the
all
dream.
intents and purposes. Yep.
That's the dream.
Severino,
That's what we want.
I think Severino, they said, is throwing from the mound soon, right? He's throwing from 120 feet at this moment. So hopefully, again, he continues to just stay on track, because I think last year, it's about this time where he got hurt, right?
Yep. It was.
He had
And
a setback.
here's the thing. For me, what's most exciting, I think, about Sevy is hopefully he is completely healthy, because his last 2 years have really been injury.
Yeah, man.
He
He's
never got
another
on
guy.
the field
Healthy.
until September of 20. I guess that was 2019.
19.
And he pitched that big playoff game against the Twins, but he was never really right, and he didn't really have the arm strength, and he wasn't the guy that we all knew and loved when he was their ace for 2 seasons. And then last year he didn't pitch at all because of the Tommy John stuff. So, you hope that he's completely healthy and he comes back. Like it seems like a lot of guys are, in terms of how they're feeling. I know Judge talked about it today, that for the first time he really feels healthy with that rib and not having to worry about that. And so that's all we can hope for as they move forward. And I think that's a good kind of final breakdown point here. Yankees' first spring training game, I believe, is Sunday, February 28th. So that is this Sunday. It will be on Yes. We'll all get to watch it and enjoy it and finally be blessed with Yankee baseball on our TV screens again. They play the Toronto Blue Jays 105. So that would mean just about a month or so in between that game and the start of the New York Yankees regular season for 2021. And therefore, I'm going to ask, who do you think is going to have the best spring training and carried into the regular season for the Yankees on the hitting side of things?
I am going to say Clint Frazier.
Okay.
Because
You can get yeah.
I don't know why, but I just
How you feeling? I understand.
That's the first name that came into my head.
Yeah,
So.
you want me to give you a reason why? Because he's got the left job and now he's confident.
He doesn't have
and
to worry about it. He doesn't have to worry about it. He could just play.
I was gonna say the same thing. The first name that popped in my head, I'm gonna say Gleyber Torres. Why? Because he's played way too much Call of Duty, and he wants to prove to me that he is the best damn shortstop in New York City, especially with Lindor across the way. Gleyber's going to have a good spring. He's going to carry us in that lineup along with everyone else. But Gleyber, it's his time, baby.
I was going to say Gleyber too, but I don't want to. I don't want to have similar answers because that's a cheap.
Say Mike Ford.
But you'll be shocked at who I'm going to say. I'm going to say Gary Sanchez.
Whoa!
I don't
Not
like
your
Gary,
boy,
as you know, and I think he's been exceptionally overrated, as I've mentioned on this podcast the last couple of years. But I'll buy into the yearly Gary has a changed body hype, which
I think it's an illusion. I think his body has never changed.
Everybody comes in and they're like, man, he's looking thin, he's looking ripped, he's got a new nutrition plan. And it looked like he had some pop off his bat, and people were saying that he looks a little lighter on his feet in his stance. So, you know what? I could see Gary having a good spring, and I could see him having a hot start to the Major League Baseball season because
he needs
of that good spring with the confidence. And you're right, he absolutely does. Though I will say, I noticed the other day that the Yankees put out a video of him catching, and he was still doing that stupid catching stance.
Yeah, I saw that.
Has his leg down. So I pray that they say, bro, forget about catching, just hit. And if you catch, that's an added benefit because we already got Higgy catching Garrett Cole, and everything else is just a formality at this point. So that's what I think. But I think he will hit the ball pretty well in spring training. I think it will carry over.
A disastrous start for me, I feel like, and for all of us and for the Yankees, I feel like when it comes to Gary Sanchez, is that if he does the opposite of what you're thinking he's going to do, and he starts the season just very poorly, and then you have us fans tweeting at it, and then I will
be unbearable.
And then you have Aaron Boone starting to play Higgy a little bit more, and then instead of you start seeing Higgy maybe 3 or 4 times a week, and then all of a sudden again, is there a catcher competition? They're kind of, is Gary Sanchez a starter? He hasn't really said Gary's a starter, has he?
Yeah, I think he said it.
They had Gary.
Oh, they did?
Catching,
Okay.
Garrett Cole in the Yankees.
Okay, so if he's starting, then he's
but that was for like their bullpens and stuff like that. So I would assume based off of
he's going to start the season starting.
He'll be the season opening catcher regardless of.
But he doesn't need to end the season the starter.
We already saw that happen once before.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like last year in the playoffs was really the first time where we actually saw the Yankees kind of give up, right? Because for years before, like Gary Sanchez was awful last year, but he was pretty awful like years before as well, or the months before.
Don't need to tell me.
So no, what did he do that one thing that what he hit a home walk off or grand slam last year? We were very.
He had the big game against the Mets
where
he hit the walk off home run that wound up winning them that game. Or no, it wasn't a walk off. I think it was just a big home run to put the game out of reach. Was not that epic of a home run, though he has had some walk-offs recently, especially in April, where even though he's been batting like 210, he's gotten big walk-offs in moments when they needed it. That game against the Twins comes to mind recently, a couple of years ago that I remember he did that.
I mean, I'd rather not have 30 home runs and a 160 average.
Well, it's funny because views from 314, and this will be kind of our last point, so we can have this as an interesting question. And I tweeted it from our Twitter account at @OurLittleYanksPod, which you all should follow if you listen to this podcast. You can find us on Twitter by that little handle that I just gave you. And the tweet was, what would you rather have, combined 300 innings or more from Corey Kluber and Jamison Taillon, or so it's about 150 innings per, or a 35 homer season from Gary Sanchez? And I think unanimously the answer, because I said this is what it was, but I think it's kind of unanimous among us three, would be you want the pitching, because the Yankees can survive without 35 home runs from Gary Sanchez, but they cannot survive if they don't get pitching from Corey Kluber and Jamison Taillon.
Couldn't agree with you more. Couldn't agree with you more.
That's just you gotta, whoever said Gary Sanchez home runs, I don't know. That just doesn't, long-term success for the Yankees is you need the innings from those pitchers to stay healthy. And Gary Sanchez doesn't need, the problem with him is that he was all home run or nothing. So if he has 35 home runs but has a 130 average and still striking out on high fastballs, what's the point? We'll get those home runs by Brett Gardner. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right. I agree. Absolutely. Anyway, that's a good way to kind of put the kind of final nail in the coffin in regards to everything that we've talked about over the last hour or so. E-Ray, as always, I'll give you your final little segment. Anything to bring up? Anything on your mind?
First of all, I don't know why I got a little hot there answering that question. You never know with me. But what I have for you actually is that the Yankees have a new high-tech pitching center at camp now. You know what it's called? The gas station. That's what I call my bathroom, folks. I'm just kidding.
Oh my God.
No, that was it. Honestly, I just wanted to use that to say that joke. But
You've been waiting all that
nicely done.
Podcast.
Nicely done.
See, that's very good. And a little programming note, as I already mentioned before, Yankees' first spring training game will be this Sunday, which is February 28th against the Toronto Blue Jays. So for all you Yes fanatics, you'll get to hear the Bob Shepard intro. You'll get to hear the Yes Network music. It will hit. It will be fantastic. It will be glorious. And we'll all feel like the world is right and everything feels good. And once again, as we kind of already discussed, New York Yankees are going to get to have fans in the building, hopefully this year, because of Governor Cuomo's order that people are going to be there. Knicks already had fans tonight, and the Nets did as well. So step one in the right direction in regards to COVID. That's going to do it for us here inside this episode of Our Little Yankees podcast. As always, you can listen to us wherever you find your podcasts. That includes Spotify, Apple Music, TuneIn, as well as SoundCloud. And if you want to see all of our glorious faces, you can find us on our YouTube channel, where we have a playlist of every single episode and all the video feed from it from Our Little Yankees podcast. Until next time, folks, I'm Julian Coltree. As always, joined alongside Josh Levin and Eric Ray Sepulveda. We'll catch you on the flip side.